We people listening to this that are in debt to the IRD, or even worried about their employees being in debt to the IRD. For those who may be burying their head in the sand or know that they've got some IRD debt, what should they be thinking about to ensure that they don't get one of those letters?
Yeah, look, one of the pet peeves that I have is most people who book in with us book in far too late. So they book in a consultation with us when it's, they've got the statutory demand sometimes, but most of them already have the liquidation proceedings.
What's the difference of those two, just so for
Yeah.
the audience?
So I'll step back another step again. So the IRD will run a fairly informal collection process, demand letters, calls.
Hey, Luke, you owe us money.
Yeah.
When are you going to pay?
Yeah.
Get us onto an arrangement. Yeah.
And then once that runs its course and someone makes a decision, we need to enforce this, the first thing they'll do for a company is issue a statutory demand. That gives 15 working days to pay. And if the taxpayer doesn't pay, then the IRD will always then issue liquidation proceedings. So it's a step prior to liquidation. Once liquidation proceedings are filed, and that's at the High Court, the taxpayer has 10 working days to liquidate themselves if that's what they want to do, or that option is removed. And so the earlier people engage, the more options there are. So, like for example, it's much easier to negotiate with the IRD in the early stages because if we have to negotiate and we're dealing with statutory timelines and having to go to court and get adjournments, the risk goes up and cost goes up as well because now you've got a lawyer in court and there's not very good communication between the case officers and the lawyers for the IRD. So often the lawyers who are standing up have a long list of files that they're working through and their kind of go-to is we need to liquidate. So if you've agreed to an adjournment, it might not actually be communicated to the lawyer.
Yeah.
So there's just all these kind of little niggles that, the earlier people engage, the better. But also there's more options.